Daughters of Reddit, what is something you wish your father knew about girls when you were growing up? Guess I kind of consider myself a daddy's girl, so here are all the things I'd probably tell him now. All those times you just accepted things that were girly without ever attracting any kind of attention to it really went a long way towards helping me build a healthy perception of guys. You never expressed any kind of disdain or machismo when I asked for your help untangling my Barbie's hair or prodding you with magic fairy wands. You never hesitated to teach me practical skills, and you never attributed gender to them. It was always, come over here and let me show you how to snake the drain, because you're going to need to do this. BTW Dad, I snaked my first drain all on my own last month. I'm so glad you taught me. Thank you for bailing me out when I was in a pinch, no questions asked. No guilting, no attempts at squeezing out information. I felt like I could come to you with any dilemma. This took a load of my shoulders because mom is so reactive and freak out first, maybe resolve later. You respect me, which makes me respect you even more. When I call you out on BS, you actually repent and reflect. You don't deflect back on me and pull the, I'm the parent and know better than you spiel. You actually took the time to sit and watch my cartoons or attempt to understand my video games or other hobbies. Mom always turned up her nose. You didn't. Do you know how awesome it is to watch your dad actually laugh at the cartoon your mother just dismissed as dumb minutes before? So gratifying. All those times you went shopping for groceries and picked up ladies' sanitary supplies without any hesitation, even if you did affectionately rename the long super maxi pads, low salt maxis. Thank you for all those secret times you let me pick something out of the vending machine to eat when we were on trips together. You knew mom would never allow it. You take great pride in embarrassing me, but you know exactly where to draw the line, so it's endearingly goofy, not genuinely embarrassing. You know your audience and play to it. I feel no shame when my friends, or now fiancé, are around you. It's okay if your hands were too callous to properly tie my ballet skirt before classes. I could tie it myself. But I didn't tell you at the time because I knew it made you happy to help me. So don't be embarrassed because the fabric kept snagging on your calluses. I wish you took your dental hygiene more seriously. I think your lax attitude and seeing you lose a lot of your teeth didn't set the best example for my sister while we were growing up. That it is best to have a personal bond with your father, a hobby or activity that's the two of you no matter how small, and not him just be there when the whole family is together. When our outdoor cats would get ticks, I quickly alerted my father and we removed them. For him a chore and for me the one thing that was us doing something together. +1 on this one. GF and I have been together 4 years, and we have a 10-year-old from before we met. She's glued to her mom's hip since they came here from El Salvador with nothing but each other. Last year they had a big spring festival at school, and her mom had to work. 10yo was super bummed, so I offered to take her instead. We spent the night playing little carnival games, doing puzzles, playing sports, etc. and had an absolute blast. It was the first time we ever did something just me and her without her mom. That day completely changed our relationship. She started telling everyone I was her dad, started asking to do things just the two of us, and overall became a lot more affectionate with me. We regularly go and do our own thing like bike rides, fishing, frisbee, and basketball now. Her mom and I just had twin girls, so she's feeling a bit like a spare tire these days. I should make more of an effort to do some stuff just me and her, since it's been 100% focus on the babies for months now. Glad I clicked this thread. I'll get something planned just for us this weekend. Oh my god, I'm teary. Hi teary, I'm dad. Don't be scared of having your picture taken. If your daughter wants to take pictures of you, or especially with you, let them. My dad died when I was 13 years old, and then I realized that all of his hiding from the camera meant I was left with only a handful of photos, and he wasn't in any of our home videos. You don't realize how important they can be until you aren't able to make new ones. This actually hits me pretty hard. A lot of these comments do, but this one in particular. We just had our first child, a wonderful little girl, about 2 weeks ago. I have one picture with her that shows my face. I have never liked taking photos and have always resented it. This made me look at it from a different perspective, thank you. I have the most wonderful father in the world. This post isn't going to be things I wish he knew, but more things he did that were awesome when I was growing up, since I'm seeing a lot of daddies with little girls commenting that they're reading this post. My dad never hesitated to do girly things with me. He was the one who took me school shopping. We would often hit Starbucks and then pick up chocolate-covered strawberries afterwards. He would fix my hair for school and paint my nails for me. I remember wanting a head full of tiny braids. This was the 90s, and he spent hours of his Saturday afternoon braiding. We played with Barbies, and he actually came up with storylines for them and put effort into it. On the other hand, he also never kept me from doing tomboy things. I raised baby calves, helped him wash cars, and worked on the lawnmower. When I was little, we had daddy-daughter dates where we would go to Chuck E. Cheese or mini golfing. When I was in middle school and high school, we would go to the pool together and lay out and talk. A few years ago, we got tickets to see Miley Cyrus's Bangers tour and got drunk together and had the best time. He was always patient with anything regarding my self-esteem. He helped me lose weight when I was in middle school and waited for hours for me to get ready before we went somewhere, and never, ever commented on anything other than to compliment me. The biggest thing I think that he did, and still does, is to encourage my independence. He helped me through school and constantly reminds me that I am a strong woman and that I don't ever have to get married if I don't want to. My mother used to put a lot of pressure on me to settle down. He is my friend along with being my dad. I'm forever thankful for him. I'm a dad who grew up with 3 brothers. All of my brothers had a boy first. I had a girl first and was terrified of how I was going to raise a little girl. She's 14 now and is awesome to be around. I have been a stay-at-home dad since he was 6 months old, and we have a tight relationship. My son is 18 months younger, and I have learned that the big things aren't that different. I think it's extremely important to take an interest in what they love. Their interest may not align with yours entirely, but showing an interest in their hobbies is the best way to connect with them as they get older. Don't try to pick their hobbies or interest for them either. Kids are their own people. If you are looking forward to tea parties but your daughter prefers baseball, get out there in the yard and toss the ball around. If you are looking forward to bonding over football but your daughter wants to play princesses, then get ready to dress up. Just treat your child as an individual. Raise the child you have, not the child you want. Edit. I did not expect this comment to blow up. I'll address some of the concerns I have seen expressed in my replies. Yes, I know I am not a daughter. This wasn't tagged as serious, so I commented. Yes, introduce your children to your interest and hobbies. I never said that wasn't important. Sometimes you may even have to push a little for them to discover that they like something. Some of my kids' biggest interests have come from my wife and I introducing it to them. I'm simply saying that if your child is interested in something you aren't, find out why they love it so much. I'm not huge on horseback riding or middle school wrestling tournaments, but those are important to my kids, so they are now important to me. Yes, I like Peyton Manning. Thanks for the gold and the great comments. I am sorry that some of you guys and your parents struggled with this growing up. I did as well, and that's why it was important for me to change things with my own too. My wife works as a surgeon while I have gotten to stay home and raise my kids. It was a decision that we made for our family because we could afford it, and it was well worth it. You can laugh if you want, but I'm chilling in my amazing house on a Wednesday afternoon. What are you doing? Note: this isn't directed towards everyone. Just to people who think they know my life better than I do. This is more general to parents, but I think it applies a lot to girls and fathers. Her feelings are real and valid. The problem she's sobbing about, whether it's a boy or a fight with a friend or whatever, may seem trivial or silly to you, but those feelings are so important to her right now. In 10 years you can tease her about Jimmy from science class who she thought liked her, but ended up asking her friend Alice to the dance. Now is not the time. Don't belittle her about it. Listen to her, ask her questions, learn about her life. It may seem boring to you, but my dad listened to me. He remembered my friends' names and would ask me about them. He asked me seriously about what I wanted for the future. And you know what? I'm 25 now and I still confide in my father. He calls me just to chat and I tell him about my feelings, and I ask him about his. It only takes one mean joke to put that wall up, and it is hella hard to take down. Edit. Yes, this certainly applies to sons as well. And other relationships too. Treat people's feelings as valid. Other edit. What I think a lot of people are missing is that this does not mean you let your child throw tantrums in public or break things because they are upset. By all means, please teach your child healthy ways to cope with their feelings. But don't tell them they shouldn't feel their emotions. To shut it down the way they feel. That they are babyish or immature for crying about something. The rest of the world is going to do its damnedest to make kids hard, to tell them to get over it. Don't be that. Let you be the person they can feel fully around. Male here, and I couldn't agree more. I used to talk about video games at great length with my father. We're talking early 90s here, so there typically weren't epic stories or anything. He always listened and seemed to care. Having since grown, I have come to realize he had zero interest, but he was happy to listen because I had interest. And that's how you maintain a good relationship with your children. They are human beings, small ones granted, but their feelings are still valid. That's one of the reasons I can't stand parents who don't allow their children bodily autonomy. I mean, obviously if the kid needs a shot they're gonna be unhappy about that, but in terms of hugging or kissing people, if they don't want to, for the love of God, don't make them. That means A, they don't feel like they can say no to things about their body, and B, it forges distrust between you two. My brother and sister-in-law are such big proponents of that. My nephew was a quite shy toddler, but super cute, so people always wanted to hold or hug him. He couldn't be impolite, they would ask him to just wave or maybe give a high five, but they never forced contact. If you spend a good portion of your daughter's childhood talking about how much better and easier a son would be to raise, don't be surprised when your daughter grows up confiding almost exclusively in her mother and never in you. Unfortunately, it's something both my parents kept bringing up. They never intended to make me feel bad, it's just something they'd say randomly out of the blue. But it always pierced me either way. It's something that will always stick with me, and thanks to them, if I ever have a daughter, I'll make sure to fight tooth and nail and bloody bones to let her know that I had a fantastic time raising her and wouldn't have it any other way. I do not have a bond with my dad. At best he's like a cool uncle. When I was in middle school I stayed with him a lot because his house was right next to my school. He told me I only got my period because my friends had it, and I wanted to be like them. However, it wasn't all bad, because for some reason he thought pads and tampons cost $40, so he gave me $50 every month when I got my period until my mom ratted me out. Edit, because someone called me out for not answering the question. My answer is no about periods and what a girl goes through during puberty. It's fucking brutal. Watch Big Mouth on Netflix. JK, don't watch Big Mouth. How to build and support a healthy self-esteem and lifestyle habits. The things you say and the way you treat her can leave a lasting impression on your daughter. I was a latchkey kid in an Asian household filled with cheap convenience foods, 3 for $1 hot dog bows, Chinese crackers, etc., and lack of income for things to do outside of watching TV at home. So, I grew up overweight and uninformed about healthy lifestyle habits. Since tweenhood, my dad was constantly on me about my body, and bluntly laid it out that I would never find a boyfriend. If he saw me in a t-shirt or shorts, he'd comment on how big my arms, thighs looked. I'm now in my late 20s and still refuse to wear tanks, short sleeves, skirts, dresses, shorts because of that idea that has been ingrained in my thought process. The link between being fat and being single still has a huge presence in my mind. My dad passed away last year from his own struggles with his health, cancer, diabetes, hypertension. Since then, I've made my own lifestyle changes and went to therapy. I am about halfway to my weight end goal, and I've discovered a love for hiking, spin classes, and yoga. But trying to build up self-esteem through reframing of things and positive self-talk has been the hardest struggle of all. Treating every boy interested in your daughter as your enemy does both of you a disservice. My dad was very overprotective. Anytime a boy had a crush on me, he would be immediately added to my dad's shite list. Even if he was perfectly kind and respectful. After a certain point, I just stopped listening to my dad's complaints. In my eyes, he had lost the right to give input about my relationships. Unfortunately, when I was 17 I became entangled in an abusive relationship. My dad hated the guy. But since he also hated every one of my previous suitors, I didn't interpret his concerns as legitimate. On top of that, since he was so busy trying to prevent me from having relationships, he never talked to me about what a healthy relationship looks like.